Hello, lovely people. Welcome to the Geek Cupboard. I am Penge, and it's Sunday night, which means more Sunday night story time here in the Geek Cupboard with Tally Ho. So get that cup of tea ready, take a seat, relax, and we shall continue our tale. So to very quickly recap what happened last time out, we had to get the train to Aunt Primrose's estate, and during our time in second class, because we went second class, we kind of thought that going first class would feel a little bit above our station. So in second class, we met the somewhat rebellious looking Hayes Vermilion, who we did have a nice chat with until we bored her to sleep by talking at length about autumn. And then we met Figs. So Figs is the artist who is in love with Mopsy, and Mopsy is Aunt Primrose's niece. Are you making notes? I do hope so. And we made a bit of an arrangement with Figs to get one of his paintings into Aunt Primrose's art gallery. I mean, how that's going to go, I do not know. I look forward to finding out. Then, after a bit of a to-do with the wonderfully named Colonel Firesnuff, we picked up a nice present for Aunt Primrose, and with the help of Figs, we got back onto the train in the nick of time. So, a very interesting train journey indeed, to say the least, but it looks like we have arrived at our destination. So let's begin chapter 3, which is called Ritornello. I don't know, I might be mispronouncing that. There might be some sort of fanciful way to say it, but we'll just call it Ritornello because that's how it looks. So chapter 3, here we go. You exit the train, relieved that you're on time. You collect your luggage from the baggage car and head toward the cab stand. The platform is rather crowded, and you push your way past large families on holiday and tourists who, for some reason, wish to consult their guidebooks about some architectural feature of the station. You're just beginning to ponder pleasant thoughts of the visit to come when you hear someone calling your name, and you look around, trying to figure out where the sound is coming from. Emerging from behind a smokescreen of exhaust from a departing train, you see a figure walking toward you, coughing and gesturing to get your attention. Who is this unassuming and impressionable person carrying a bright green pear and a bulging picnic basket, nearly jumping up and down with excitement as they approach you? Okay, is it a delicately proportioned maid in uniform or a slightly built manservant in livery? I don't know, a maid. A delicately proportioned maid in uniform. Why not? Let's go for that. You are hailed by this young woman eagerly. "Are you cupboard?" she calls, and in strong... Oh, I won't do the Gloucestershire accent. I'm not entirely sure what one is. "Sorry to bother you, but I'm here to greet you." She takes a bite of the pear. You slow down to see who this new addition to the cast is. You're relatively familiar with most of the old hands at Aunt Primrose's, and are certain that you have never seen her before. "I'm Valentine," she says, bowing her head deferentially as you approach. You cast a trained eye over her uniform, a plain black dress with a white apron and a white cap, noting with professional attachment that it is slightly threadbare. "It's an honour to meet you. You're right on time." "Were you sent from Mrs. Patterson's house?" "No, I was sent by the Cadbury Club." "Ooh, the Cadbury Club. Is there chocolate involved? I'm in. This is my very first job. I was just hired on Mrs. Primrose Patterson's estate." "Indeed?" "Yes, I am her new downstairs maid, but I'm going to work really hard and someday I'm going to be the real lady's maid. I know I can do it." Valentine looks up at you with eyes of innocence as you attempt to formulate a response, and then before you do, she hits you with a crucial bit of information. "You've been assigned as my mentor. I think it's part of your test for admission into the inner circle." Okay, right, so we have Valentine now, who is our sort of disciple or whatever. The Cadbury Club is, as you well know, the most elite club for servants, populated solely by those for whom immaculate service is a way of life. The Inner Circle is an almost legendary club within a club, rumoured to be composed solely of the most respected members of the Cadbury Club. You have, of course, imagined yourself being elected to that august society, but hardly dreamed that it might come to pass. You have heard it said as well that there are difficult tests and challenges that the Inner Circle use to test their prospective members. It would appear then that you are being considered for inclusion in the Inner Circle, with all of the prestige that would entail. Okay, this is intriguing, so we might get ourselves into some sort of fancy, posh, kind of, servant club or whatever. Okay, so we can say, "Wonderful, glad to meet you, Valentine." I look her up and down critically. "I am to be your mentor," or, "But why me? Why now?" Let's be excited about it. Why not? Let's be excited. "Wonderful. Glad to meet you, Valentine. Hello." Valentine looks unbelievably pleased. I've heard stories about you," she says, studying her shoes, a flush clearly coming over her face. "Oh, do tell. People say that you are so knowledgeable and generally quite kind. I'm going to work really hard to be as good as you. It's all I ever wanted in life." "Oh, this is very lovely. You're too kind." You pace around for a moment, then turn back to Valentine. "But why on earth would they send a woman just learning how to be a downstairs maid and aspiring to become a lady's maid to me? Why wouldn't they send you to a proper lady's maid?" "I don't know how to answer that. It's a question that perplexes me as well. There's a great deal of specific knowledge involved attending to the needs of a lady, as you know. Issues of fashionable dress and hair and cosmetics and so forth. At present I serve a gentleman. I can hardly advise you on these matters." "I am at a loss. Oh, right, maybe this would help. She hands you an envelope, sealed with wax and bearing the crest of your club, the Cadbury Club, for those who serve. It's the letter of my introduction. As you open the letter, and on official Cadbury Club stationery, you read a missive confirming that Valentine has indeed been sent by the inner circle to test you. Valentine is described as a promising young woman who needs guidance and a role model. The letter stresses that you will be evaluated following Valentine's apprenticeship to you, which will last for 1 month. The letter further notes that Valentine is to be instructed in whatever you deem most important for a servant to be trained in. Well, everything here seems to be in order. What do you want me to do first? Valentine says, throwing the pear core away. I'm ready. Okay, so go and wash your hands while I hire a cab. Your hands are going to be sticky. Gather the suitcases, or I'll take the suitcases. Follow me. I mean, no, that's sensible. Go and wash your hands, because she's been eating a pear, so her hands will be covered in pear juice. So absolutely, go and wash your hands. That'll make sense. Oh, of course, I'm sorry. That was careless of me. Well, not really. That's what you get when you eat a pear. It's sort of, it just sort of happens. Valentine rushes into the station and emerges shortly after, looking a little abashed but no less eager. You, meanwhile, have already hired a cab and loaded the bags into it. Don't forget your picnic basket, you say, pointing. Oh yes, I nearly forgot. Valentine heaves it into the back of the cab, saying, Oopsie daisy. Don't say oopsie daisy. Whoops, sorry. Oh, I like her. You and Valentine slide into the back of the cab, with the picnic basket between you. I packed us a lunch, Valentine says. I want to bring you something to thank you in advance for taking me under your wing. I know it's awkward. I don't know what kind of food you like, so I packed a bit of everything. Oh my goodness. You watch as Valentine opens a basket and points out the various lunch items in it. I packed lots of finger sandwiches and pickled vegetables and charred peppers stuffed with buttered breadcrumbs and some hard cheese and a bottle of cider. Do you like marinated eggplant? I also have some of that and some baguette and jam. And for dessert, you're going to really like this. Some lovely cream puffs. I suppose we could just feast here in the cab. It looks extraordinarily delicious, but it also looks rather messy and potentially the sort of food that might leave a lingering aroma. She tries to judge from your expression whether or not you are pleased. Okay, so I think it would be tidier to eat that later, don't you? It looks so lovely, Valentine. I'm afraid I ate on the train. Oh, that would just crush our hopes. That's a bit mean. Or I can't wait to eat this charming picnic. I'll start with some of the pickles. I think the top option is the more prudent one. We're going to get covered in food, aren't we? We're going to be eating something messy. We're going to go over a bump in the road, and then we're going to end up with our wonderful sort of, servant attire covered in, I don't know, whatever, covered in crumbs and bits of vegetable. So, yes, we'll eat it later, I think. Oh, says Valentine, tidier, yes. And possibly the aroma, though delightful, might not be welcome when we arrive. I hadn't thought of that. Remember this lesson for the future, you say. I just wanted to bring you something nice. It is appreciated. But Valentine doesn't look so sure. I know it is appreciated, honest. As you ride along, you talk with Valentine, learning a bit about her. She speaks at length about her 6 brothers and the Cotswolds, where she grew up. It was expected that Valentine would work at her parents' sweet shop. However, after her parents' illness, Valentine had to provide for the family and found her way to the city, taking on a few temporary, short-term positions to learn the trade and joining the Junior Cadbury Club, where she was nominated as Most Promising. As you talk, Valentine turns her face up to you, looking into your eyes artlessly. I wanted to apologise for mucking things up, cupboard. I'm a little flustered, and I'm not sure what I'm doing. There's no need for an apology, you say. Well, good, Valentine says. Good. I'm very excited to start, you know. Yes, that is obvious. 20 minutes later, you approach the grounds of Ritornello, and the world becomes filled with colour as you take in the astonishing palette that autumn has painted the world with. Dark plum, fiery orange and scarlet everywhere, dotted here and there with russets, pumpkin pie, orange brown, and a deeper gingerbread brown. Even from inside the cab, you fancy that you can hear the rustling of the leaves, all dancing slightly with the wind. Valentine sits next to you, studying your posture and trying to mimic the way you are sitting. She straightens up and holds her hands in her lap. I was just wondering, Valentine says, what would you say the most important part of being a good valet is for you? I mean, what's the most important thing for me to work on? An excellent question. I would say the most important thing is, listening to one's employer's orders and not deviating. Solving problems on your own without bothering your employer. Learning how to educate and shape your employer. I mean, they're all sort of important. They're all important. I would say solving problems on your own without bothering your employer. Just get things done. That's what they want to see. If they say, you, servant, do a thing, you don't go back to them and say, I don't know how to do the thing, so what shall I do? You just, get it done. Solve it yourself. Go back to them and they will go, wow, well done. So I think, solving problems on your own without bothering your employer. That makes a lot of sense, says Valentine. I'm still working on that. I just feel like it's important to check in with my employer when something unexpected comes up. Novices often do feel that way, but this skill is what distinguishes a great servant from a merely tolerable one. One's employer hires one in order to make life smoother, to have someone remove obstacles in their path before the obstacle can prove a stumbling block. I think I understand. And therefore, you say, speaking with some gusto, you must never rest. You must watch out for all opportunities to make life just a bit easier. This is what you will do when someday you ascend to the lofty heights of becoming a lady's maid. But even in your relatively lowly current position, you will no doubt have many opportunities to remove problems on your own initiative. I see, Valentine thinks for a while, but surely there must be times when your employer, despite all of your work, contrives to make his or her life difficult. Oh my, yes, you say. Try as you may to solve their problems, they will often manage to create more. Tell me, what do you do then? What do you respond? Okay, so listen carefully then, and I shall tell you an illustrative tale about Mr. Wintermint. Oh, I can't do that. That's like dobbing him in. That's like, gossiping about him behind his back. One does not share stories about one's employers, or I cannot tell you anything specific, but I will give you broad outlines, I say, knowing that it may be somewhat more difficult to either amuse or instruct Valentine in that way. Okay, I don't want to tell tales about Rory, because then she might, because she's young and excitable, she might then sort of, say that in an inappropriate sort of way or at an inappropriate point or whatever. Let's just say one does not share stories about one's employers. Let's keep it professional. We are professional. Let's do that. Oh, I understand, says Valentine. You don't trust me yet. Of course, we've only just met. I shouldn't have asked. No, not at all, you say. Think about it. We are with our employers night and day. They must feel as though they can act as if in private. If we start telling stories about them, the whole basis of our profession melts away. It is not a matter of trust at all. Oh, I see, says Valentine, venturing a smile. It's just part of the job to maintain privacy. Now you're understanding it, you say, to encourage her. Aunt Primrose's estate is surrounded by massive oak trees dressed in vivid lemon yellows, with just a few red-brown oak leaves dotting the ground to mildly suggest that this beauty might come to an end some day, but not soon. The cab stops at the green gates, announcing that this is Ritornello, where two servants bar the way. They examine the cab thoroughly, presumably ensuring that Figs is not hiding in the back seat, and then wave you through. The cab curves around the great circular driveway, with a white marble statue in the centre of it, in the shape of the goddess Minerva, emerging from Jupiter's forehead. Goodness, that's all very fancy. You pay the fellow over Valentine's objections, and are about to collect the luggage, when you hear someone running from behind. And then the world goes dark. Guess who? Calls a high-pitched and giggling voice. Guess cupboard. Okay, so Mrs. Patterson, is that you? So that's her saying, is it Aunt Primrose? Rory, Colonel Firesnuff, Mopsy, or Helen of Troy? I mean, I'm going to guess it's Mopsy. We'll get it right. Mopsy. You guessed it, she shouts, really. So you turn to see her clapping and nearly jumping for joy. Goodness me, I'm very popular around here. Mopsy is looking lovely as ever, in a twirly pink and purple floral chiffon dress with a large floppy bow at the neck and 6 big cloth-covered buttons down the front. Her hair is somewhat wild, an explosion of curls and tendrils. She is flushed, probably from charging at you from behind. As always, Mopsy is a ray of sunshine. She beams to see you. You see Valentine directing some of Aunt Primrose's help to take the luggage up to Mr. Wintermint's room. For a moment you consider whether Valentine needs help, but soon realise that Mopsy will not brook any distractions. Oh, cupboard, he says. I can't believe you're here. I just can't believe you're here at last. I am. And we'll spend ever so much time together. Oh my goodness me. Valentine clears her throat. I think I will go ahead in with the luggage and make my presence known to the household staff. I'll see you soon, cupboard, and thank you for your company. You bid Valentine farewell as Mopsy waves her hands in increasing large circles to get your attention. Did you happen to see dear Figaro on your journey? She looks up at you with large liquid eyes and her lower lip starts to quiver. I did see the gentleman in question. I believe he goes by Figs among his friends, Mopsy says, and a tear starts to swell and roll. Indeed. Did he mention me? In fact, he asked me to kiss your dewy brow on his behalf, I say, kissing her dewy brow. He spoke of you with obvious affection and longing. As a matter of fact, I don't believe he did. You can be horrible in this. You could be a terrible human. I don't want to kiss her dewy brow. That might be inappropriate for a servanty person. He spoke of you with obvious affection and longing. Of course he did, Mopsy says comfortably. I would imagine he speaks of nothing else. I feel terrible for him, and I feel terrible for myself. I'm like a bird in... What's that thing that birds are in? Gilded cages? Yes, like a bird in a gilded cage. But I know you will free me, cupboard. You will help us be together, for who can stand in the way of true love? How exactly do you want me to help, you ask? Rory did seem to desire that Figs and Mopsy be united, but the situation appears rather difficult. I believe that your aunt is firmly opposed. I don't know, she says, and then she begins to seriously weep, and without warning dives into your chest, moistening you considerably. How do you respond? I simply hold her and pat her back parentally. I help her put all this in a historical perspective, or I suggest how she can protest to Aunt Primrose effectively. Okay, so we can just let her cry, or we can tell her how to go and deal with Aunt Primrose, so maybe we can sort of, change Aunt Primrose's mind, or I help her to put all this in a historical perspective. She's not going to understand that, is she? She's not going to care. She doesn't care about the historical perspective, because she's in love and she wants her chap. Okay, I think we'll maybe try and get her to change Aunt Primrose's mind. Mopsy, you say, you must be brave and think shrewdly. Shrewdly? Yes, you say Figs has a number of redeeming qualities. He is everything. He is my lifeblood. He is the sap in the trees and the song in the throat of the meadowlark. Goodness me. Well, I will trust you on that matter, but to the point, if we could simply demonstrate his finer qualities to your aunt, she'd be forced to admit that he could be a worthy match for you. But how, she says. We'll come up with that plan in time, you say. For now, you must speak highly of Figs. Dwell on his best aspects in front of Aunt Primrose. In time, she will come to see it your way. I will try, if you say so. Mopsy sniffs and walks slowly into the house to collect herself, turning around once to blow a kiss to you. Oh, keep it appropriate. As Mopsy's problems have been dealt with, for the moment anyway, you decide it would be best to find Rory and let him know you have arrived. You walk into the house, glad to finally be here. Carlington, crikey, another person, right, another name, Carlington, Aunt Primrose's imposing butler, greets you with a slight inclination of the head. How do you do, cupboard? Good to see you, Carlington. You will find Mr. Wintermint staying in the oak room on the second floor, third door on your left. Thank you, Carlington. Your suitcases are just there, by the art gallery. You may wish to take them upstairs. Certainly. You leave Carlington and walk across the main hall to the art gallery at the end of the corridor. Aunt Primrose's art gallery is a sunny display area for the various paintings, etchings and sculptures she has collected over the years. Your suitcases are piled unceremoniously at the centre of the room. You shake your head, reminding yourself to teach Valentine the importance of bringing the luggage straight up to the room. You start to lift the suitcases when you notice the sealed tube with Figs's awful portrait of Aunt Primrose in it. You consider it for a moment. You told Figs that you would take it, but noted that you ought to ask Rory for instructions before putting it up on the wall. However, you feel confident that, if asked, Rory would probably tell you to do anything that you feel would help Figs and Mopsy get together. Okay, I'm going to go up to Rory and ask him what he wants me to do with the painting. I know Rory will tell me to hang the painting, so I'll just do it, or Rory would surely tell me to dispose of the painting at once, so I will destroy it. I said we were going to talk to Rory, so let's go and do what we said. Let's try and stick to the plan, such as it is. As you mentioned to Figs, you will be leaving the decision to Rory. You tow all the luggage upstairs, the painting tube under one arm, and locate the oak room, certainly one of the more luxurious of the guest suites in Ritornello. Rory likes its east-facing patio, and that is where you find him, looking out at the world, picking at a plate of sliced apples and berries, and sipping a ginger ale. Well, that sounds wonderful. That's living the life. I mean, a cup of tea and it'd be perfect. I have arrived, sir, and perfectly punctual as usual. Oh, I'm over the train. You clear your throat. I shall inform you of the specifics of my travel if you wish, but before that, there is a piece of business I must inform you of. Oh, you produce the painting tube. I have here in this tube a painting made by your friend Figs, whom I met on the journey. You don't say. Rory opens the tube and starts to remove the contents. He implored me to take it and asked I hang it in your aunt's gallery. He seemed to think that seeing his artwork in that context would make her see his true value as an artist and a possible match for Mopsy. It seems a far-fetched plan. Oh, and you said... I told him that I needed to consult you before accepting or rejecting his offer. It seemed the thing to do. I suppose so, Rory says, sighing. I suppose old Figs does need our help, but I'm not certain this plan is the finest heir of his invention, as it were. That was similar to my train of thought, you say. Well, that's a thin slice of Figs, Rory chuckles before taking a sip of ginger ale. Now, before you unroll that portrait... Okay, we've got choices, okay, but it is too late. Upon seeing the ghastly portrait, Rory spits out a mouthful of ginger ale all over it. My God, cupboard, Rory says, dropping the liquid-flecked painting. I know, sir. What is it? It is intended to be a representation of your aunt, sir. No. What would you like me to do with it? Down the hall in the library there's a good fire raging. Burn it utterly, and then collect the ashes and burn them as well. Then disinfect your hands with bleach and lie and return at once. You take the portrait, crumple it into a ball, and head down to the hall toward the library, a hall decorated with a number of large, expensive-looking blue and white Ming Dynasty urns, nearly as tall as you are. You are nearly there when Colonel Firesnuff exits the library, and calls to you. "Oh, it's you," he says sourly. Yes, if I might step into the library." He doesn't move. "What have you got there? That moist piece of paper." You put your hand behind your back. "What piece of paper?" "That piece of paper that was in your hand." No, I don't believe I had or have a piece of paper. I think I would know." It is perplexing to me why you would lie about having a piece of paper in your hand. It seems almost suspicious." "You're a very suspicious person. Something about your physiognomy." What? Something about that word there that I don't really know how to pronounce. But that is neither here nor there. I demand to see what is in your other hand." I look him in the eye. Why'd I lie about having a piece of paper? Don't be an ass, okay? So, right, it's wrapping paper for Rory's birthday gift for Mrs. Patterson, that's all. I stealthily drop the painting into one of the big decorative urns. Oh, that sounds like a fun thing to do. Or just drop it into one of the urns, because we're going to set it on fire anyway. So yeah, there we go, let's do that. You drop the canvas into the big urn behind you. You then show both your hands and put on an innocent air. "You wound me gravely, Colonel Firesnuff," you say. What did you just drop into that urn? I heard something fall." "Into the what? What do you want about, Colonel? Why would I drop something into an urn? The idea is laughable." "Don't play games with me. You clearly dropped something in there, stolen goods, no doubt. Stand aside and let me examine the situation." He shoulders you aside, and stands on tiptoe so we can see inside the heavy urn. "There now, I can see something. Blast it, but I can't quite reach it." "This is nonsense, Colonel Firesnuff," you protest. "It's nothing." He straightens up red-faced and, luckily, empty-handed. "I suspect you're a theft or worse, written all over your face. I would wring the truth out of you, but I am a guest in this house, therefore I shall go and inform Primrose that you are a criminal. She will, no doubt, turn you out at once." He storms away, and you follow closely behind. Oh, dearie me. Right, so he's going to cause a bit of a problem, is he? Okay, fine, Colonel Firesnuff sort of interfering with the plans. There we go, just had a minor tea break, just had to go and get another cup of tea, because, there's a lot of words in this, and I was feeling a bit parched. So, right, tea is now refreshed and topped up, which is wonderful. Yorkshire Gold, in case anyone's interested. Right, so, Colonel Firesnuff bursts in upon Aunt Primrose in her drawing room, where she is having a cup of tea with Mopsy. Very good, cup of tea, you see, I did it at the right time. You follow closely behind. "Primrose!" shouts Colonel Firesnuff. "I just found this ruffian in your house following the dictates of his black heart." Aunt Primrose looks up, sets her tea on the table, and stands up, frowning at Colonel Firesnuff. "What are you talking about, Firesnuff?" she says. "This is Cupboard, my nephew's valet. I've known him for years." Mopsy says nothing, but looks on with some interest. "Regardless, I saw what I saw," says Colonel Firesnuff. "And what did you see or think you saw?" "Cupboard was messing about with one of your priceless urns upstairs near your library, dropping things into it, probably sending coded messages back and forth, or smuggling." Primrose snorts and looks to you. "Well, Cupboard, this is a fairly serious accusation. What do you have to say in response to this charge?" Okay, so we can either try and get Mopsy to help us out a bit, and I think she would. I think Mopsy would help out quite a bit, or appeal to my long-standing relationship with Aunt Primrose, or just deny it all. Let's try and get Mopsy in. We're trying to help her out. My notes to her, but yeah, we're trying to help her out and Figs. So let's see if she can help us out a little bit. That might be quite fun. You look to Mopsy with an expression that says, "Help." And Mopsy rises to the occasion. I knew she would. Good job. "Oh, Colonel Firesnuff, you funny old man," she cries. "Cupboard was looking for my ribbon, which I dropped into an urn. I asked him to do that." "You did?" "Yes, of course. Well, I suppose that solves that." "Oh, that's not Colonel Firesnuff. Hang on. Aunt Primrose she's got a sore throat. Hang on. Aunt Primrose says, "I suppose that solves that," says Aunt Primrose acidly, and compelling mystery solved. "Thank you, Colonel Firesnuff."
"But that..."
You and Mopsy smile sweetly at Colonel Firesnuff, and then Mopsy gives you a big hug and a kiss on the cheek. "You're the best, Cupboard," she says. Then she whispers to you, "You owe me big, Cupboard, and I know exactly what to ask for." "Oh," you whisper. "What is it exactly?" "I'll tell you later," she whispers, and then she sits back down. "Is that all?" you say. "That is all," says Aunt Primrose, waving you away.
"Well, I suppose I may have spoken out of turn,"
begins Colonel Firesnuff. "Think nothing of it," you say breezily, and depart. You go back upstairs to the oak room. "Has the matter been taken care of successfully?" Rory says, as you step in and close the door. "For the moment, sir," you say. "There may be a few loose ends to tie up later, but for the moment, all is well.
Glad to hear it. Now, let us talk while you prepare my person for public consumption. My fox hunting outfit, if you please. How was your trip?
The trip went reasonably well. Rory places 2 cushions on the divan and lies down with his feet on the cushions, hands folded under his head. Tell me about your journey. Omit no detail, however slight. While to the untrained eye Rory seems content, your long years with him and your trained eye lead you to the conclusion that Rory is in fact ill at ease. Restless and anxious are words that come to mind. Rory looks up at the ceiling, not meeting your eyes, and a slight flush and furrowed brow betray that Rory is under the influence of strong, albeit unspoken, emotion. Clearly, Rory wants to be diverted from his thoughts by hearing about your trip. There are, of course, many ways to tell the tale of your recent train trip. You could try to make it a tale of dashing adventure, emphasising your personal prowess and keen wit. You could offer amusing anecdotes, entertaining Rory with all of your absurd encounters, making the narrative as witty as possible, trying to make Rory laugh. Another option could be to offer an instructive lecture, or perhaps you might offer a relatively tame version of your trip in order to relax Rory. Okay, I like this. So what are we going to do? Telling a tale of dashing adventure. I do like the idea of that, but I think he'll see through it. He'll be like, no, it didn't happen. You went on a train. So maybe he'll see through that possibly, although it might entertain him. I quite like the idea of that. Amusing anecdotes, making it witty, trying to make him laugh. That might help him relax. Highly proper and slightly smug account of my trip. Okay, that sounds a bit kind of preachy, doesn't it? Or I ease his mind. I mean, it's either offering witty repartee or easing his mind. Let's try and be funny with it. Let's try and make him laugh, and then he might sort of relax a little bit. Let's go for that. You offer Rory a sparkling and witty version of your journey, relaying the most interesting and stimulating parts of some of the conversations you had. Particularly that one about autumn, where the person fell asleep. As Rory listens with interest, frequently interrupted with questions, you regale Rory with descriptions of your verbal fencing with the colourful and perplexing Hayes Vermilion, the hapless Biggs, the irascible Colonel Firesnuff, and your sudden trainee, young Valentine. Oh, cupboard. If I were not convinced of your tremendous brain before I am now, your skill at rhetoric was very much good. There, you see, I can't hope to reach your heights. Thank you, sir. Rory puts his hands on his temples and begins to massage them. Oh, funny, you mentioned a Hayes Vermilion. I have some passing familiarity with the Vermilions. From Northumberland, I believe. If I remember, back then she called herself Hazel Vermilion. I know the family slightly, but it was some years ago, although it sounds as though she has changed. I assume you refer to her singular appearance. Rory shrugs. As far as my memory goes, she was quiet, shy and retiring sort. People do change, though. Shy and retiring would not accurately describe Hayes. I do believe that she will be at the fox hunt, although I suppose I can see this striking coiffure for myself, though I can't for the life of me imagine how she wangled an invite from Auntie. As Rory talks, you think about Hayes. It's so strange. You only interacted with her for a short time, but something about her made your experience with her such a prominent part of your trip here. As you consider what to tell Rory, a question nags at you. Although all the rules of propriety and class will forbid such fraternisation, do you find yourself attracted to Hayes? Oh, we could just make this entirely ludicrous. So we're in love with Rory. We were in love with frankincense. We've got ourselves a good friend in Mopsy, and then we've got ourselves a servanty sort of, well, not a servant, a disciple, kind of, a student person in Valentine, and now we could also fall in love with Hayes. Yes, very much attracted. There's some attraction. Hayes would be a charming and intriguing friend. I don't know, certainly not. In fact, I downright loathe Hayes. No, we're not going to do that. I mean, we're going to say yes, but to what extent? Because I think really Rory is the person for us. In all the years of service, we've fallen very much for him. But I think maybe we could say yes. Why not? Let's put yes, there's some attraction there. Why not? She was an interesting sort. You cannot deny that your pulse quickened when you saw her. And when you spoke together, there's something indescribably alive about Hayes. And you respond to it. Rory suddenly jumps up. Oh, cupboard, I've just remembered. What about the birthday gift for Aunt Primrose? Rory looks through the luggage in search of it. Regarding the birthday gift in question, you say, I have secured the peridot, again not sure, peridot hair stick. You remove the hair stick from your jacket. Wonderful, Rory says, taking it over to the window and examining it in the light. No trouble at all getting it? Oh, what am I talking about? What could go wrong simply walking into a store and purchasing an item that had been laid aside for one? You both share a merry chuckle, indeed. A most successful cupboard. I look forward to the sparkle in her eyes when I present it to her in front of all assembled. They all shall say, there is a nephew, her loves his aunt, and Aunt Primrose shall shower love and devotion on me. Undoubtedly, sir.
Good show, cupboard. That's brilliant. Good show, cupboard. You work to ensure that Rory looks acceptable, but Rory keeps pacing around. Nearly time, cupboard. Time to face the family and friends, and so forth. Must be my best, you know. Of course. If you would kindly... A man must look his best. Rory gnaws at a fingernail and begins to muss his hair. For such an important occasion. Where I would prefer to be is at home. I'm picturing a beverage with ice and some sort of action-adventure novel. Perhaps I'll do some jumping jacks to use up some nervous energy. Okay, right, so he's wandering about. We're trying to get him dressed, but he's sort of just pacing about. So I really must ask you to stand still at once if you'd like to be properly dressed. I wonder if you might make your movements somewhat less exuberant. Go ahead and do your jumping jacks. No, he can't do his jumping jacks, because then he won't be ready, and then he'll go downstairs and he will look a mess, and everyone will sort of frown on him. Let's go for the top one. Let's really be sort of forceful with him. We need to help him, but we want him to look the best. So let's do that. Though, I suppose you will have your way, won't you, cupboard? So be it. Do your worst upon my person. Rory looks annoyed, but stops moving around. At least you can complete dressing him more efficiently now. You put the finishing touches on Rory's outfit, making minute adjustments to ensure that he looks to his best advantage. The result, if you do say so yourself, is certainly an improvement. Rory strikes various poses in front of the mirror, admiring himself in his dark green wool tweed hanging jacket with a houndstooth pattern. I don't really know what a houndstooth pattern is, but I'm sure it sounds marvellous. A crisp pair of cream-coloured breeches and dark brown boots complete the outfit. The 3 buttons, of course, remain closed during your hunt, sir, you note. Naturally, Rory says, adjusting his tie and accepting his top hat from me. He's got a top hat as well, it's wonderful. What do you think? How do I look? Perfectly adequate, sir. Frankincense's heart will skip a beat. To be perfectly honest, you look rather unwell. You look wonderful, sir. We're going to go for you look wonderful, sir, because why wouldn't we? You look wonderful, sir. Well, you don't sound particularly enthusiastic about it, Rory says, but then you are used to my effect. Oh, right. Is that a sort of more mocking thing? Oh, I thought that was us feeling all sort of starry-eyed for him. Oh, okay. Maybe I've misunderstood that. But then again, you are used to my effect. Those who haven't seen me for a while are sure to faint or scream. Let me straighten your hat, sir, you say. To have something to say. You stand there, birds singing sweetly outside, face to face with Rory as you touch his hair and adjust his hat. Rory talks about something. You have no idea what. All you can hear is your heartbeat, your pulse rushing in your ears. Oh, this is wonderful. I lean forward and kiss him. I excuse myself and leave the room, or I stoically straighten the hat and escort Rory downstairs. As tempting as it would be to try and do this right now, leaning forward and kissing him, that does sound fun, but I think if we're doing this properly, I don't think that's what Cupboard would do at this exact moment in time. He knows that Rory has a big thing going on right now. He's got to impress at the Fox Hunt, and he's got a lot going through his mind, so I think that's just gonna really sort of upset him and confuse him even more. I think we will stoically straighten the hat and escort Rory downstairs. Let's do our job. Let's do this bit professionally. There we go. We're just going to sort of grit our teeth, do the hat, and take Rory downstairs. Perfect, sir. Shall we head downstairs? Oh, we shall, says Rory, looking at you quizzically. Rory looks for a moment as if he wants to ask you something, then looks puzzled, and then opens the door. Standing there is Carlington, Aunt Primrose's butler, holding a tray of drinks. Ah, says the butler. I was just coming to see if you are ready, Mr. Wintermint. They are assembling outside. Thank you, Carlington. You and Rory walk down the stairs, talking of this and that. The great front hall even of Ritornello is busier than when you entered. Assorted servants are rushing about making preparations for the feast to come. Footmen bearing wicker cornucopias full of sunflowers, orange dahlias, and pied red and yellow daisies for centerpieces shimmer past, preparing the dinner table for the evening's repast. As you cross the hall, you notice a grey-haired woman in a simple black dress standing in the doorway of the billiard room. The keys at her waist mark her as Aunt Primrose's housekeeper, in charge of the upstairs, and second only to Carlington the butler. She must be new. Aunt Primrose does go through housekeepers. She catches your eye as you pass. I do beg your pardon, Cupboard, but I have some important questions to ask you. If you wouldn't object, would you come this way? She motions to the billiard room. Oh, they've got a billiard room. It's like Cluedo or Clue if you're in the USA. I'm about to head out on the hunt, you say. This will take just a moment, she says. You look toward Rory. He has become engaged in an animated conversation with Carlington and probably wouldn't notice if you slipped away for a moment. You follow her into the billiard room. I am Regina, I think you pronounced that. Regina Wilhelmina. I said Wilhelmina there, I did a ver. Regina Wilhelmina, she says, after shutting the door firmly. We don't have much time, so I will be efficient. Take a seat by the fire, and I will sit at the window seat, facing another direction. If either of us senses danger,
Work the phrase moray eel into the conversation. Do you understand? Do you know what? Clearly something is going on, and she is part of the staff of this house. Yes, absolutely. I understand. Let's get on with it. Moray eel it is. Okay, fine. Good, she says. I appreciate your willingness to take instruction. Naturally, you say, all poised. Now, you may call me Mrs. Regina Wilhelmina in this professional setting, but you should be aware that it may become necessary to use code names. I am Midnight Thorn. Midnight Thorn. Just so. And I shall call you Dandelion. All right, Dandelion it is. Actually, I prefer Shadow Stealth. How about Savage Wendigo? I think Cupcakes would be a better suit to him. I'll make up my own nom de guerre, thank you. Or can we make up our own? Can we make up our own? This is fun. Yeah, can we make up our own? I don't think that's a good idea. I have to change all the paperwork. Oh, come now. I don't really care for Dandelion. Have it your way, then. What do you want me to call you? Oh, right. Okay, hang on a minute. Hang on. Let's think of something fun. Almighty Teapot. That will do the job just fine. We shall be known as the Almighty Teapot. Splendid. All right, she says, shaking her head slightly. I suppose Almighty Teapot will do. Very well. Now, what exactly are we talking about? I'm terribly bewildered, you say, as Regina jots a few notes. Yes, I suppose you will need to be briefed. Almighty Teapot, you are, I assume, quite familiar with the Cadbury Club. Of course, that's the club that I'm a member of. The Cadbury Club, for those who serve, the most exclusive organisation for servants in the world. Then surely you have heard of the Cadbury Club Inner Circle. Okay, yes, we have. Clearly we have, because that's what this whole sort of apprentice thing is all about with Valentine. Any polished servant has heard of that august society. I don't have much hope of being admitted. Yes, secret societies are not particularly of interest to me. I prefer to live a quieter, less complex life. Do you have inside information about the Inner Circle? I'd very much like to hear, unless it's against the rules, or I assume this is related to Valentine's testing of me for the Inner Circle. Yeah, it's going to be something to do with that, isn't it? It's got to be part of Valentine's thing. She swings around and looks at you. Valentine? Who is Valentine? What are you talking about? Okay, this is intriguing. Is Valentine... Did she fabricate that letter? And she's not from the Cadbury Club? Oh, now I don't know. Nothing, never mind. A young woman gave me this letter of introduction from the Inner Circle today. Or did I say something wrong? I'm terribly confused. Oh, well, let's be honest with this person. A young woman gave me this letter of introduction from the Inner Circle today. You hand the letter to Regina, Midnight Thorn, and she reads it quickly. Then she pulls out a small book and looks back and forth between the letter and the book for a while. No, it is inauthentic, I believe, she says at last, turning the letter up. An imposter. What would that mean? A double agent, perhaps? What on earth is going on, you say? Let me begin at the beginning, then. Although I am rather shaken up by news of an enemy agent placed among us. There was talk of a thief, wasn't there, in the newspaper? There was talk of a thief. Maybe she's the thief, and she's playing this sort of, very giddy, sort of innocent sort of servant card. And if she's a servant, she can get into all sorts of different places. No one's going to question it. Oh, how intriguing. Okay. She sits taller up in her seat. Now listen carefully. The Cadbury Club Inner Circle is for the most elite members, for those in service who've attained the peak of their position. Yes, so the new members say in hushed voices. You imagine what your peers would say if they knew that you were being considered. You're being considered for admission into the Inner Circle, and you are being evaluated for your suitability. Okay, so yes, that's consistent with what Valentine told me. I understand. You may as well call off the test as a great waste of time, as I'm certain to be voted in. That's a little bit self-aggrandizing. I'm hardly the right person, or I wonder to what extent a small cash gift would help to influence my evaluator. No, I understand perfectly. Let's just go down the line. Yes, okay, good. I appreciate your attention and quick grasp of the situation. You make a nearly imperceptible bow with your head. The Inner Circle is an alliance of talented and polished servants who are dedicated to maintaining the safety and serenity of their employers at all costs. There are those who may wish our employers ill, to embarrass them socially, perhaps. We are the last line of defence. But surely we all maintain the safety and serenity of our employers, you say. Of course we do, Almighty Teapot, but we in the Inner Circle are tasked with solving the most intractable of problems. The perfect lady's maid or gentleman's gentleman is expected to extract their employer from absurdly complex problems as if it were nothing at all. Yes, indeed, as we've found. And this would be impossible if we did not exist, working behind the scenes. We become involved when all seems lost. So the Inner Circle are secret agents? That's such a gauche, is that? That's such a gauche term, or gauche maybe. That's such a that word there term, she says, frowning. You hear the yowling of hounds outside, and Aunt Primrose's booming voice crying out that all must assemble outside the front door on pain of her displeasure. Our time is limited,
says Regina, but you must know there is a serious problem brewing, and I will need your help. I have reason to believe there is an evildoer here at Ritornello who means to do Aunt Primrose some serious harm. It is not yet clear to me whether it is a foreign agent or some sort of maniacal saboteur. No, I'm afraid so, almighty teapot. I will need you to join me on a subtle and time-sensitive mission. Oh, this is brilliant. You may be able to assist me. How you do so is up to you. You might find an excuse to leave the hunt and make your way back here so that you can thoroughly search the guest rooms to look for compromising information. Or if you prefer, you could remain with the hunt and shrewdly interrogate the guests to discover if they have any malicious motives. She taps her chin. It would also be rather useful to have a thorough investigation of this Valentine character. I am most concerned. I suppose if the opportunity comes up, you might do that in addition to your primary objective. Okay, what do you say? I'll make my way back here and search the rooms. I'll interrogate people. All this is madness. I think we have to go on the hunt. I think it's going to look a little bit obvious that something weird is happening if we just don't turn up for the hunt. And then we might let Rory down. Rory might need our help, and we love him, so we want him to be, doing well at the hunt or that. We'll go and interrogate people. We will go out on the hunt. Excellent, she says. Look for hidden motives, obvious lies and evasions, and those who might be under false pretences. Farewell. This is a promising start for you, almighty teapot. I just had a thought, though. What if this lady is a baddie? What if Valentine's real, and she's the saboteur, and she's double bluffing us? Oh, now I don't know. She peeks out the door to ensure that nobody is near. Wait 10 seconds before exiting, she says, and then she leaves. You count 10 and then follow, heading out the door to join Rory and the others. Okay. All have assembled outside, and the white horses are being brought out and assigned to guests. Traditionally, there would be a master of the hunt, but Aunt Primrose, a very keen hunter since she was a young woman, has taken that responsibility upon herself. As a group of 6 servants in hunting outfits bring a pack of eager hounds out of the kennels, Aunt Primrose talks to each of the dogs, stroking them and inquiring whether or not they are ready to catch a fox. Colonel Firesnuff talks to Mopsy, who is yawning without attempting to hide it, as he tells her about his adventures spelunking in Bechuanaland, wherever that might be, even if it's real. Rory is talking to Carlington the butler and a man in a trench coat with a police badge pinned to it, who listens closely to Rory and scribbles furiously in a small notebook with the word clues on the front. The detective looks up as you arrive. Inspector Ambrose, he says. Nice to meet you. You must be covered. No, don't ask, I'll figure it out. Deduction, science of detecting, I'm here in a professional capacity to find and bring to justice the infamous sneak thief, Light-fingered Lou. He pauses and studies your fingers for a long time before nodding slowly and tapping his chin. We'll now have the customary glass of wine before setting out, Aunt Primrose says, fairly skipping with excitement. Everyone join me just over here by the fountain. We shall all drink to the success of our hunt and enjoy a slice of cake in honour of my birthday. Oh, this is amazing. Cake. The fountain is a patinade bronze sculpture of Sir Francis Drake holding a spyglass to his eye. The sculpture has been poorly cast, and the left side of Sir Francis' face aligns unevenly with the right side. Sparkling water flows out of the lopsided spyglass into a basin held by personifications of fortitude and temperance. It often comes up in conversation between you and Rory when either of you wishes to reach for a reference point for something unbelievably ugly or in bad taste. Okay, so the fountain is horrible, gotcha. You take a moment, as always, to marvel at just how hideous that fountain is. Hey you, comes a voice slightly behind you. It's good to see you. It's Hayes. Her purple hair flies round in the wind. Hayes was standing alone, you realise now, and even as you speak, you see Mopsy looking at you incredulously, as if to say, why are you talking to her? I'm pleased as punch to see you, Hayes says with zest. Finally some life in this gathering. Not very exciting then? Out here, sorry. She sweeps her arm around in a show of mock grandeur. Not particularly. I hope you come riding with us. You can ride with me. Hayes' eyes positively gleam at you. I make a non-committal noise and then move to rejoin Rory. Kindly refrain from addressing me from now on, please. That sounds like fun, if I'm able to, but I may have other responsibilities. It's either the first one or the fourth one. I don't want to make a non-committal noise, because that is rude, because we do quite like her. If I'm able to, but I may have other responsibilities. Well, be honest, that's the truth. The model servant, Hayes laughed bitterly. You lure me in and then draw back enticingly. You understand, it is my responsibility. I don't mean anything untoward. Too bad about that. I'm very tired of toward. One longs for untoward, but I will settle for what I can get. She laughs again, this time a bit more warmly. Mopsy is looking at this whole affair with something like horror in her eyes, and a few of the servants are looking at you with concern. Clearly there are social consequences to even the most innocent interaction with Hayes. Everyone is assembled near the fountain, ringed with honeysuckle shrubs. Next to the fountain is a feature you have never seen here before, a great pen,
made of gold-coloured wire mesh, standing about 10 feet high, holds 3 full-grown peafowl. A peacock struts about, train feathers fully extended and right of iridescent green and blue. A peafowl and a peahen nearby ignore the display entirely and groom their feathers in a non-committal manner. My pride and joy, says Aunt Primrose, looking at her birds indulgently. Sanchi-san, Galatea and Orlando are my entrants into the exotic animal show at the Harvest Festival, as you may know. They will do me proud. I've been raising them for months and months on a very special diet. They are certain to receive the blue ribbon. She bares her teeth at Colonel Firesnuff. Stuff and nonsense, Primrose, he says. You will have to resign yourself to the red or yellow ribbon again. I have a very special entry to put yours to shame. A laughable proposition, Aunt Primrose says. You will eat those words, and I don't mind saying your team will also lose the boat race. You had better get used to losing. Colonel Firesnuff laughs and laughs. Oh, Primrose, you are a card. Aunt Primrose perches on a camp stool near the peafowl pen, accepting birthday wishes and small gifts from her guests with the air of a magnanimous empress receiving homage from visiting dignitaries. Homage from visiting dignitaries. The cake, on a wheeled cart, Aunt Primrose's favourite, Battenberg cake. Footmen slice and distribute the checkerboard yellow and pink sponge cake, slathered in apricot jam, wrapped in marzipan, and decorated with autumn leaves made of spun sugar. That sounds amazing. I want some of Aunt Primrose's Battenberg birthday cake. That sounds amazing. Very nice, she says, as one of her neighbours gives her a set of 3 lavender candles wrapped in ribbon. Very thoughtful indeed, she says. Good to have one's birthday appreciated. Makes one feel valued. She looks to Mopsy. Mopsy looks cross and approaches Aunt Primrose. If I were not imprisoned on the estate, I could have given you a better present, she protests loudly, hitting such a pitch on the word imprisoned that some of the hounds perk up. I have made homemade stationery for you, impressed with wildflowers. Ah, said Aunt Primrose, you know perfectly well why I'm keeping you here, so that you do not mix with that figs person, as you call him. You may use that stationery to write me an apology note when you later realise you've done me wrong, Mopsy says, and steps away from Aunt Primrose. You can see that Rory is slowly nodding in solidarity with his cousin. I wink at Mopsy to let her know that I, too, approve of her rebellious nature. I give Mopsy an admonishing look, or I raise one eyebrow to suggest to Rory that he ought to make less of a show of support for Mopsy in public. Yeah, it's not going to be the middle one. We're not going to tell Mopsy off, as it were, with a look. Do we either wink to say, yes, I agree with your nature, or do we sort of try and keep Rory on the straight and narrow? Let's look after Rory a bit. He's our sort of main concern. Rory sees your raised eyebrow and looks down as Aunt Primrose harumphs imperiously. Was I nodding? Rory murmurs to you. You were, sir. It would be best to maintain what some call a poker face in front of your aunt. Thank you, cupboard, Rory whispers. As Mopsy passes, she offers Rory and you a hurt, tear-streaked face. You could support me, you know, she hisses as she walks past, ringlets bouncing furiously. Luckily, Colonel Firesnuff steps forth before any further words can be exchanged. Yeah, so we're in a position where we can't impress everybody. We can't make everybody happy. We're going to have to support some people, and some people are going to feel a bit let down, like that situation there. Primrose, says Colonel Firesnuff, I'm a man of few words, as everyone knows, and I'm not much for sentiment or that rot. When you've charged across a field of hedgerows under heavy mortar at dawn, one doesn't think too much of birthdays. He pauses to eat a bite of cake. And yet, as I think people generally know, I am not to be outdone when it comes to giving gifts. So I have brought you this small token of my esteem, and I hope that it will soften the blow on my entries, crush your entries at the Harvest Festival. Pah! Booms Aunt Primrose. Let's see this gift. I have here a fine lace doily, Firesnuff says, displaying it. It will serve to place things on top of. I believe that is what one does with a doily. To be quite honest, I don't know, but it is quite dainty. Yes, very nice, Firesnuff, she says. A doily, you say? Well, it's a nice thought, such as it is. I had intended to purchase something else, something more befitting of the occasion, but there were obstacles. Here he fixes you with a challenging look. Suffice to say, the fault was not mine. Thank you, Colonel, she says. Oh, he's not happy with us. It is now time for Rory to give his gift to Aunt Primrose, but he does not step forwards. Go on, sir, you say. Yes, of course, Rory says. Except I should have written out a speech or something covered. Am I getting flushed? A trifle, but go on. Everyone is awaiting your honeyed words. Dearest Auntie, Rory says, clearing his throat and then coughing a few times. I have a few words to say on this, your special day. Aunt Primrose folds her hands on her lap and looks at Rory attentively. Rory licks his lips and looks to you, a bead of sweat beginning to trickle down his forehead. He clearly needs help. How best to help? Oh no!
He's freaking out on the stage. I step in front of Rory and try to assure his speech is appropriate. I help to lighten the mood by offering Aunt Primrose a touching compliment on behalf of Rory. I whisper something effective in Rory's ear. Okay. I don't think we should step in front of him, because that might imply that we're being too forceful and too sort of domineering. We should know our place. I help to lighten the mood. A touching compliment or whisper something effective. Let's whisper something effective in Rory's ear. Let's try and get Rory the star of this show. We got an achievement-y thing. Say, Aunt Primrose, I offer you this token of my love and affection in thanks for the years of devoted and doting care of me in my youth and my childhood. Thank you. Oh, that's very good, Rory says. Say it, sir. At this time, you counsel. Rory steps forward while you hang back modestly as he speaks the phrase you gave him. Aunt Primrose looks authentically touched by this statement, and a kind expression is just what Rory needs to muster up the courage to step forward and present her with the hair stick. I'll admit, I don't know what a hair stick is. I'm not entirely sure. Is it like a thing you put in your hair to keep it up or whatever? I don't really know. Whatever. She's got a hair stick. Yay. I don't know what to say, says Aunt Primrose. You take my breath away with your thoughtful gift and your sweet words. It is nearly enough for me to forget some of the utterly boneheaded things you've done in the past. But we needn't go into that here in this public setting. Rory graciously does not follow up on this conversational thread and leads the crowd in 3 cheers for Aunt Primrose and then looks at you with thanks in his eyes. That's okay, Rory. As Aunt Primrose mingles with her guests, Colonel Firesnuff accosts you and Rory, hands behind his back, leaning slightly forward as if keenly anticipating this conversation. I've never been so humiliated when it comes to gift-giving, he says to Rory, exhaling furiously through his nose. One does not like to admit defeat, and yet I am magnanimous in defeat as well as victory. Well played, sir. Well played. Your gift-giving is second to none. I don't really think of gift-giving as a competition, Rory says. Said like a true master of the art, and you have struck first blood. But I will take revenge, mark my words. You shall rue the day you vied with a seasoned competitor, and tactical genius like me. Uh-oh. Oh dear, Firesnuff is getting grumpy with us, and with those parting words, Colonel Firesnuff snaps to attention and joins Aunt Primrose. They and the other guests mount their horses. And you aid Rory to mount his horse as well. The Master of Hounds is heading into the woods, and the hunters are just about to set off behind him. An air of excitement fills the hunting party, and Aunt Primrose shouts with glee, "Yoicks and tally-ho!" There we go, there's the tally-ho. "Yoicks and tally-ho! Let's go!" She kicks her heels and leads the party off to the sound of horns and hounds. They do not wait, alas, for Rory, whose horse is slowly turning in a complete circle. "Just a moment," he calls. "Forward, Cinnamon Bun! Yah!" You're working with Rory to explain the proper order of things, Cinnamon Bun, when a familiar voice calls out. "Rory, and Cupboard! I'm so sorry I'm late." Uh-oh, and riding up, looking magnificently elegant as ever, is Rory's bride-to-be. Frankincense, signet. Oh no, and it's our former love. The love triangle is here. It's going to be right there. And that's it. That ends the chapter. The next chapter is called Hunting We Will Go, which seems very appropriate. But there we go. Frankincense is here. Don't read any of this, anybody. Spoilers. Oh my goodness me. Right. Okay, so we've got ourselves involved in some sort of secret spy type shenanigans going on with the Cadbury Club. And we're trying to figure something out. We're going to try and interrogate some people whilst we're on a fox hunt. And now Frankincense is here. And whatever she's called, Hayes is also there, but people don't like it when we talk to her. But we seem to quite like Hayes. And Mopsy's a bit cross with us now. Oh my goodness me. Well, there you go. The story is certainly coming along very well indeed. But there we go. We shall finish things up for now. We'll finish things up because, we're doing a chapter at a time. That seemed like quite a long chapter. It was longer than the other ones, I think. But there we go. It is all done. And yes, I look forward to next week to see just exactly what nonsense we can get ourselves into next time, because who knows what is going to happen. I very much look forward to finding out. Hopefully you have enjoyed this. If you have, please do leave a like. That would be most marvellous indeed. And also, if you're not already, then please do subscribe to keep up to date with how we get on here next time out in Tally-Ho. But for now, thank you very much for joining me in the Geek Cupboard, and I will see you next time. I just want to point out the danger of blasting fire into the face of somebody who has not got any kind of headgear on. Let's suppress the pants off that thing. I always knew hiding behind a park bench would be no good. Oh no, it's a terrifying disc thing. The aliens shoot him with such force that he loses his hair, which is just ridiculous.